most people readily identify physical abuse, right? Like, if you slap me, then I mean, that there is not a whole lot of debate with what that is, right? And most times, if you start dating someone and in the first 72 hours they hit you, you
Mm.
know, like, nah, I'm good, right? Like, we're not gonna keep going. So abuse, physical abuse, actually doesn't start off physical. It starts off emotional and psychological and mental, right? It starts off really subtly, like things where you're like, that was kind of weird, like,
Mm-hmm.
and the first time somebody does it, you're like, okay, but you don't really think anything about it.
Maybe, I don't know, something subtle, but just kind of like
Something. So,
more
for
than would be
example,
out of the norm for sure.
I well, self-disclosure. So years ago, let me put that out there. Years ago, because I don't want nobody to be watching this podcast and try to sue me because they think I'm talking about them. Uh, but years ago, I dated someone, and every
Should have
time
just
this
left
in
that part out. But I'm listening. Go ahead.
every time this individual felt away, then he would withdraw sex. You know.
You gonna cut it
the,
off from yourself?
the,
Okay. I
the
mean, women do that
weirdest.
enough
The
themselves, but I don't know. That's
listen.
a different
I
story.
mean,
But
it
yeah,
was
go
a
ahead.
new one. I had never seen it before, and I ain't seen it since. But that was a new one on me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, through further conversation, this individual would say stuff like, "Well, when we're arguing, I just don't feel, inclined and all this kind of stuff, right?" So initially, I kind
Eh,
of took it
or
as
inclined for what we were
yeah,
talking.
like I
Okay,
just don't
got you.
feel like I want to be sexually
Got you.
intimate, right?
Got you. Got
So me being a therapist and being overly understanding, everybody has their own way of processing things, right? I'm like, okay, cool. But after being with this individual for like 6, 7 months, and that happened in more than literally 8 times in that 6, 7 months, I was like, whoa, right?
you. What's going on?
So yeah. So what it does then psychologically, right, is no matter how confident I am, now I'm starting to question like, what the hell you on? Because if we ain't doing it, then
Right.
what are you on? So
Right.
now what it has just done is it has just introduced a whole different type of energy into the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mental part. So now I'm trying to check myself as a woman because, again, if I'm in a relationship with this individual, I want to make sure that I'm meeting his needs. And if he doesn't desire me, now I'm trying to figure out like what's wrong
Dog.
with me.
Now you know I gotta ask you this, and I already
What's
know
up?
what the answer gonna be, but I'm gonna ask you. Now,
What?
had you created an emotional safe space for him to be able to come talk to you?
Listen, I will tell
Uh
you
oh. Uh oh.
that
See
what I
that what
learned
happened
from
when you make me smarter. See, you shouldn't be making me smarter.
that situation is I have the tendency to give people too much the benefit of the doubt because I do consider feelings and emotions, and even my colleagues are like, Doc, you give people way way too much, right?
So was he a narcissist, or he just showed narcissistic behavior?
um
Being
Woo,
totally
child,
unbiased now. Being
because
totally
if
unbiased. Being totally
oh
unbiased. I know you got a little personal, but just being totally
no, because
unbiased.
I'm like, if this person watches it, let me see. Totally
That's what I'm saying. Be
unbiased.
totally unbiased.
I would say his pinky toe is right there on that line of being able to get that diagnosis. Like
Okay.
you almost could draw SSI almost. Like you almost right there. Now just a couple more things, and sir, and
Gotcha.
that's even me being totally objective and being years removed from the situation, but also knowing other folks that he's dated and having similar issues, right? Again, patterns of behavior. You want to
Right.
look at patterns of behavior, right? So if certain things were just happening in isolation, then I would say that those would be traits. But when you start seeing patterns of behavior, when I look at how he interacted with other people, one of the I told someone, I said, when you look at an individual and every 6 months, they fall out with their friends. Like, you want to take a look at that. You want to take a look at somebody who has a hard time, holding on to friendships or whatever, right? Because again, those are patterns of behavior that are pervasive, not just in this romantic relationship, but you got issues with your homeboys, you got issues with your
Self-sabotage.
coworkers, you got issues with the neighbors, like like everywhere you go, there's some type of issue that arises, right? So then you're like, now you're looking at, okay, this is more than just traits. This is more than just symptoms. Like this is problematic because it is now kind of, encompassing multiple areas of this individual's life.